Welcome, everyone, to today's episode of Dare to Age Well Now. This is actually a continuation of last time's conversation with Dr. Nathan Keiser. He last time talked about long COVID and some of the breakthroughs that he is having with long COVID and kind of some things that people are learning about that. And then next up, in this episode, we are actually going to talk about POTS, Postural Orthostatic Tachycardic Syndrome. I had never heard of this, and then in the last year have actually met 3 or 4 people that have POTS, have been diagnosed with POTS, and it sounds very similar to getting a fibromyalgia diagnosis. Like they're not really sure what's wrong with you. So he talks about how to get to the root cause of that. Hope you will stay tuned. Dr. Nathan, the other area that when we talked before we started recording that you really help people is POTS. And I have to be honest, I love this podcast because I get to be the learner. I don't have to know a whole lot of anything, and maybe I should do more research, but I feel like our listeners come here and they're like, I hadn't heard of that either. What you got? So tell us a little bit about what POTS is first.
Sure. So let's define it first. So it's postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. That's a lot of letters. Postural orthostatic just means like it has to do with being upright. Orthostasis is upright, standing. Tachycardia is when your heart beats really fast. So it's kind of like, to break it down simply means I stand up, my heart beats super fast. Most people find that uncomfortable. And then it's resolvable when you lay back down. Now, there's some other caveats to it, meaning it can't be from something else. So that can also happen. Like if you get sick, you get a flu, you get an infection, you're anemic, you have Addison's disease, like all sorts of other stuff that can cause tachycardia when you stand up. You have to kind of rule out all those things. And then it has to mean that your blood pressure is also stable, meaning your blood pressure is not dropping or rising when you're doing it. And the dropping part's really important because that's really kind of the defining factor of what POTS is. And there's a lot of overlap, people with long COVID, a lot of overlap for people that have another interesting one called, they call it MECFS, which is myalgia encephalitis / chronic fatigue syndrome. So it's like the kind of this ethereal group of like, conventionally, we don't know what's wrong with you, and it kind of lumps them all together. But the more interesting part there is with the tachycardia, that's what gets labeled. But it's not actually in most people the thing that's wrong. It's the adaptation. So for most people, we're looking at a circulatory problem, the way that your brain is controlling that vasculature and being able to control getting blood in that water tower, like we mentioned before. And if it doesn't do that quick enough, or if it doesn't do it strong enough, then it's insufficient. And our heart will have to try to make up for that by beating faster. But as it beats faster, it loses efficiency. So it's like your heart has to fill up to be able to pump blood back out. But if it's pumping really fast, it doesn't have enough time to fill again. So the overall amount of blood goes down. So it becomes less efficient. And then we see with POTS, we start to see that tachycardia is happening, but our efficiency at circulation is getting worse. So people are going to have symptoms that typically are around cerebral hypoperfusion or not getting enough blood into their head. And again, big overlap of that with long COVID, big overlap of that with MECFS. But in essence, I end up on this type of a circuit talking about it because we name it for the tachycardia, the heart rate part. That tends to be the part that we try to fix. But oftentimes it's the adaptation. It's the thing that your brain and body is trying to do to solve the problem. So if we start to steal that away, we're not only not solving the problem, but we're actually stealing the compensation. So that's why things like neuro rehab are so helpful in those cases, because number one, the normal things that would be trialed in those cases are solving the wrong problem, but also that problem underneath it is so big and juicy to try to solve that it's worth doing for people. So there's a big upside.
That's amazing. And I'm struck with the idea of the way our modern medical system has been designed. It's not designed for health, it's designed to manage symptoms, right? And those that are longtime listeners of the podcast know we talk about this kind of a lot. If you want to it shouldn't be called the healthcare system. It's actually the sick care system, right? And kind of traditionally. And so as you talk about POTS and the ECFS, I missed probably a letter in there.
That's all right. It's a lot of letters.
It's a lot of letters. And also I was thinking about things like fibromyalgia, which is, kind of classically, we don't know. We're not right. All of these things that are like, we don't know. But we do know. If we get into your brain, if you go to a brain mechanic, you actually can know, right? And be able to make changes to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what's kind of amazing is so, and it's not to be critical of anybody, but this is like when you start to get bigger systems, it makes it harder for those systems to be able to become interoperable, where they move together, they work within each other. It's just like a big company. Like it's really hard to get all the employees of Google in a room and have them talk, versus if you got a startup, everybody can be there and you can iterate really fast. It's the same idea. A lot of the research in the literature and the studies that come out in this are from within the conventional system. And if you're willing to look outside and look in across different modalities or different areas of expertise, you realize that there are these brilliant people in these different areas that when you take their separate work and you put it together, then you have these really awesome upsides for people. And that's kind of a simple way to say it, but that's what it is being able to just kind of like step back and look at how all these things talk together and realize like there's a lot of opportunity here if we take it for people.
Yeah, and not at all to dog on doctors. I think the systems are designed to get the results that they are getting. And so right now the systems are just poorly
Yeah.
designed, but they're getting the results that someone wanted. I think the thing that is most interesting to me, especially related to this podcast, is that when we are aging, I don't think we can outsource to somebody else the how our health is taken care of. And so what I love about you and just the even approach that you're talking about is like, look, I want to sit beside you. You don't stand up as this like I am the expert. You're like, hey, look at this. What do you think? Which actually I would think builds confidence in your patients as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have like a pill to give people, and I don't have like a simple solution. So I'm asking people to like enroll in a process with me. And what that really means is like I have ideas and I can guide you on
Mhm.
how to do those ideas, and I can help you measure if it's successful. But ultimately it's you it's you doing them, because it's you retraining your body. Like only you can do that, which is some people feels heavy, but to me is wildly empowering, because like it's all within you to do it. We just have to understand like what are we trying to actually solve, and how do we roll out the list of things that we can look at to try to solve that the best way possible. And if we do a good job, we can measure it. And if we can measure it, we don't have to guess. You don't have to hope. You can just like work for it. And it's not hard work. It's not like I'm asking people to do, you know, huge deadlifts and all these things that are, but it's just being, um, it's being able to spend some time on it. But you're going to spend the time on the planet anyway, so might as well do it doing things that are useful. And especially if you're not feeling well, and you're not feeling well anyway, you might as well not feel good with a purpose at the end, and so that you're building towards something else. And yeah, so to me that's empowering. Everybody goes through a time in their life where they're dealing with a health problem. Sometimes you get it earlier than others, and um, I've had that moment, and I'm thankful for it, in terms of it's nice to do it when you're younger in some ways, if you can get to the other side, because number one, you have the strength to do it, and then number two, you know how valuable it all is. So that's the silver lining. I see a lot of people that are pretty young, and so we try to look at the bright side on that. And I'm not saying that as someone who's just trying to motivate you. I'm saying that as like that's a lived experience that I've had, so I'm trying to pull other people up with me, pull them along, and try to be there when the same way other people were there for me.
Well, and I would imagine that working with somebody that has been there, done that, and has also helped other people through this process is the real upside of working with you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's it's
Love.
I don't know what the
Sorry.
upside of working with me is, but but
Okay, sorry. Didn't
yeah,
mean to embarrass you. I was
no.
trying to like, I love this though. I love the humility that you have. Absolutely do. If someone says, "Okay, I've kind of reached all the things that I can try and do," how do they get in touch with you?
I would say I would say the way that you end up looking, watching a podcast like this, or taking the time to learn about this, is because you have to. If you're 25 years old and you feel great, you're probably not doing this because you don't need to. And so it's a need to know. We talk about, chiropractic neurology, functional neurology is a need to know thing. Like you don't know about it unless you need it. And then if you're in that stage where you do need it, we try to just make resources available for people to learn more. So we want people to be able to build their own library of knowledge kind of within, because you're kind of starting fresh when you start to think about these things because nobody else talks about them. So by doing that and be able to create a framework in your own mind, it puts new questions in your mind. And then from those new questions, you can try to start to solve new problems. And if you can do that, that may lead you to our door, but it may not. It may lead you down the road of just asking and answering new questions. And I think that is the most compelling part, because when we get stuck is when we run out of good questions to ask. And then if we don't have a good question to ask, we don't get a good answer. But if we can kind of fill up with things that give us a new way to think, or give us just a little tweak, or like, I should go learn about that. And you can just start building out more of a foundation to that. It gives you new questions, and new questions come with better answers. And the better answers we get, the more likely we are to lead people like to empower themselves toward health. And so I think that's the part I'm most interested in. Would I love to help everyone and have everybody come and see me? Of course. I want to help everyone, but I think the place to start though is, like, can we build a knowledge base where people can start to learn and be able to ask questions to their doctors, like, hey, this fella in Michigan's doing this thing. What do you know about this? And then you get to understand, like, what do people know, and then ask questions and lead you to new and interesting places in the world. And that's what people like you are serving to do in the world. So I appreciate that.
Thanks. That's amazing. If they do want to find you online, what's your website?
Yeah. So I have a website. It's keiserclinic.com. Keiser spelled Keiser, clinic, normal American way. And then if you want to watch things, we put a bunch of stuff out on YouTube and Instagram, and I think in TikTok, but I don't have a TikTok account, so I don't know how
Me
that looks.
neither.
It's probably me doing dances and stuff with AI. I don't know. But it's DOC Keiser, Keiser. If you just go at Keiser, you can find a lot of things. We put a lot of stuff out. So there's case studies. People maybe been through what you've been through. Maybe you can learn from them, or just find somebody that has done a thing like you, and maybe it will help. So I encourage anybody that's even just peaked, just go check that out, see what you see. And yeah, I just want to thank Angela, for everyone else, for seeking out people that maybe don't have a huge voice, but may have something compelling to share.
This is amazing. I've enjoyed this so much. Dr. Nathan Keiser, this has been a joy and a treat. For those of you that are regular listeners, you know that we are hanging out these days at daretoagewellnow.substack.com. Would love for you to continue the conversation. And I hope that today's episode has given you hope and inspires you to continue to dare to age well now.